Wow, they got a timer up here. Is that a hint? Greetings! How are you? Great. I'd like to thank Matt Hawes over here in the wings and the LPAC organizers. Matt, this is your number 4. 4th time I've been blessed with the opportunity to speak to this wonderful congregation, and I'm going to try and take every advantage of it this time and maybe even issue a little challenge. So here we go. The theme of tonight or this afternoon is the Founding Fathers and their blurry vision. And the reason it's a blurry vision is because they weren't very clear on what they thought the future would hold, not in the way that we think that they were clear. They certainly didn't envision any of this. They didn't envision a guy named Osama bin Bernanke, Helicopter Ben as he's called, seeding the clouds with all kind of fake money. Isn't this ironic that we have to have more revenue for our government, which is in debt, and so to get more revenue to pay the debt off, we have to make more debt. Try and explain that to a 12-year-old. And they'll say, I don't think I got that one in math class, Dad. Let's hope that you didn't. You may have noticed that our economy is sliding a little bit. I think we're down to number 7 in the world. But it's okay, because we still create a lot of jobs. The only problem is they're all in other countries. Getting really good at this, folks. Founders' blurry vision. One more thing, before I get to the founders and their blurry vision, one more thing about Osama bin Bernanke. How many of you can remember the good old days when gold was actually a gold standard? And when QE was the name of a ship that Carnival Cruise Line sailed? Did we just bring the Queen Elizabeth back? Or even her sister, the Queen Elizabeth II, would be an improvement. So what did the founders envision? Well, let's go over what they did not envision. This list could take 3.5 hours, so I'm going to give you the edited version. Medicare, Medicaid, Ag Department, Helium Department, Hydrogen Department, CBO, OMB, SSA, SSB, and the Bureau of BS. Almost any other thing that has 3 or 4 letters in it, they probably did not envision it. Here's some more things they did not envision. Iraq, Iran, Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and of course, all those countries existed. And what a coincidence, they existed with lots of Muslim residents in them at the time. This would be a big news flash on the Fox News channel and on certain talk radio shows. We hear lots about the Founding Fathers these days, and at the same time we hear almost nothing from the Founding Fathers. I spent a little bit of my time studying these things. Maybe you've seen one of my movies or listened to one of my audio CDs. Thank you. I know a little bit about the subject, not everything. Every time you open a door, a new one magically appears in front of that one, and you just keep going through doors. But I spent a little bit of time with these men of the 18th century, and it's really quite sad that their legacy and what they did and what they said has really been reduced to mythology today. It's so bad that people actually may believe again, beyond the age of 12 years old, that George Washington did chop a cherry tree down, and that he could not tell a lie, and that was the extent of his founding father wisdom and vision. It's interesting to note that all the, I think you guys call them neocons, I call them Decepticons, these frauds that have defrauded the conservative movement, have taken it over and infiltrated it from the inside. It's ironic to me that they like to cite the founders and they like to cite George Washington. What was Washington's first action at the end of the Revolutionary War? To turn his sword in. Give it up. He went to Congress, he said, I don't want it. I don't want your command. I want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to lead. I don't want to be a king. I don't want to be a dictator. I want to be a farmer. Going back home to this place called Mount Vernon. This is the tradition that we have of civilian control over military affairs. Try saying that at a debate in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and following it up with the Golden Rule, and you'll get booed. Try saying that at the Republican National Convention and you'll get booed. What has happened here, ladies and gentlemen? The train has gone off the tracks. It's not just that the train has gone off the tracks. I think that the tracks have actually disappeared. The train is just a-going somewhere around the middle of the desert. There's a cliff up ahead. Wile E. Coyote is standing there with a sign going, cliff ahead. But it's not going to stop this from happening. And then the sound effect. Cloud of smoke. What amazes me is how the founders are used to justify everything under the global warming sun. From bailouts to having God on our money. You may have seen the kerfluffle last week with Mitt. We used to call him Governor Romney, but after the RNC, I think I'm supposed to call him Mitt. After Mitt and his pledge to do the Pledge of Allegiance with God in it, and that he would have God in his White House and he would have God here. And of course, your usual Tea Party conservative is out there lapping this up. Oh, this is the greatest thing. I get in arguments with people on the air. They challenge my patriotism. Why don't you want God on our money? Why don't you want Mitt saying that he's going to be a godly-like president? And I asked the question, do you know what God it is Mitt prays to? Do you? Do you know anything about his particular God? Whether you do or not, what business is that in our politics? There's no justification for this. Certainly not from the framers of the Constitution, certainly not from the Founding Fathers' perspective.